Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I will be tracking a major storm system moving through this week, producing heavy snow across the Central Plains, Upper Midwest, and Great Lakes, as well as severe weather from the Ohio Valley to the Deep South. And we'll be looking ahead to next week with another winter storm looming across the eastern United States, and looking at the last week in January into early February at an Arctic blast likely during that period. If you guys are new to the channel and have yet to subscribe, hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. I cover Canada, the United States, the tropics, and everything in between. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. In today's question, I do want to know, how much snow do you have on the ground right now? Comment down below the video. I am very curious to see how much snow you guys have on the ground here this morning. But looking at the picture here this morning, we have lots of winter weather alerts across the Central Plains and the Upper Midwest here toward the Western Great Lakes. In these pink shaded colors, those are winter storm warnings. That is an upgrade from a winter storm watch from yesterday, and that's where we are gearing up for heavy snowfall here and over a foot of snowfall potentially in some of these areas, and even winter storm watches and winter weather advisories farther to the east into portions of southern Minnesota, eastern Iowa, and much of Wisconsin, and getting in towards northern Michigan as well. So looking at this system this morning, we have the visible satellite imagery to show us that this system is moving into the front range of the Rockies and then out across western Kansas this morning. And as it does so, you can see cyclogenesis will take place across the Great Plains this afternoon, with that strong low pressure system developing across eastern Colorado and western Kansas, and that will kick out across the western Great Lakes into the western Ohio Valley going into tomorrow on Thursday, January 19th. But if you guys are still with me on the video, definitely press the like button down below. It's that thumbs up button. It helps to get all of this weather information out to more and more people, so I definitely appreciate that. But looking up across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes region here at the snow side, this is around noon time frame today. We got the heavy snow flying across portions of central eastern Nebraska here, more of an icy mix across southeastern Nebraska getting into southwestern Iowa. We might have to watch for a little icing today, but yes, very heavy snow back across central Nebraska here. Snowfall rates potentially up to near 2 inches per hour around the noon time frame today. That will move eastward into portions of eastern Nebraska and much of west central Iowa through the dinner time frame here this evening. More of the rainfall farther to the east across the Illinois Valley, portions of Indiana, and also getting into western Kentucky on the warm side of this system. But again, this system will be spreading farther north and east into southern Minnesota, into central and southern Wisconsin, and eventually into northern Michigan, including the UP of Michigan, getting into the wee hours of the morning on Thursday, January 19th at 3 a.m. And then as we go through the entirety of the day on Thursday through the noon time frame, heavy snow will be flying up here across the Twin Cities, across Wisconsin, down through Prairie du Chien, getting up here towards portions of Green Bay and the UP of Michigan as well. And then that will be wrapping itself around with some snow showers potentially for the Chicago area on the backside of the system Thursday night. But looking at the total snow accumulations from the system, from the Central Plains getting into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes, a stripe of significant snow over 6 inches in many of these locations from northern Michigan and the UP of Michigan back across portions of Nebraska and the Front Range. There will also be a couple locations over a foot of snow today across portions of central Nebraska, getting into portions of western Nebraska. We could see 12 to even up to 18 inches of snow likely across these areas later on today, with maybe up to 8 inches over there toward the Omaha area or just to the north of Omaha. And then up across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, we could be talking about a solid 6 inches near Des Moines, Iowa, 5, 6, 7 inches up here toward La Crosse, Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. About 3 or 4 inches up here into the Twin Cities region, and then over toward Green Bay and Madison, Wisconsin, we could be expecting a 3 to 6 inch snow across those areas as we head through the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll also have to be watching for the icing potential. I did mention across northern Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, and southwestern Iowa, up to a 1/4 inch of ice is possible in a couple locations here across northern Kansas and southeastern Nebraska. We will have to watch over the next 24 hours through Thursday morning. morning. And again, this will be providing us with moderate to even major impacts, especially across Nebraska here, with those major impacts with snow well over a foot here and even some icing potential across southern and southeastern Nebraska getting into northern Kansas. And again, just a reminder, ice and snow, take it slow, guys. Again, clean off your car before you drive, keep it slow, and don't use cruise control. Roads can be slick even if they just look wet here or even if they're icy out there. And also, most importantly, leave extra distance between you and the vehicle in front of you as possible, and allow those snow plows to clear those roads out there as well. Stay plenty of distance from them as you are on the roads here these next couple of days. But looking here on the warm side of the system, we have a warm side down here across the southeast as well. Temperatures will be rising well into the 60s to low to mid 70s here across the Gulf Coast of the United States. We'll also be opening up the Gulf of Mexico. Dew points will be rising through the 60s across the Arklatex and the Deep South through the day today. And this is going to be spelling trouble with that formidable mid-level jet rounding the base of that trough around 60, 70, 80 knots. That's going to be providing the threat for damaging winds, and a formidable low-level jet off the Gulf of Mexico cruising up here through the western Ohio Valley around 60 knots or thereabout. We definitely have the rotation needed for tornadoes later on today, and that is why the Storm Prediction Center has hoisted a slight risk and even a larger marginal risk for severe weather across the western Ohio Valley, getting down through portions of the Arklatex region here today, and especially in that yellow shaded zone across portions of western Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, western and northwestern Mississippi, north central Louisiana, and far east Texas. Those are the higher zones for severe weather later on today. A 5% shading of tornadoes across those areas from Shreveport up through Memphis later on today, including the Little Rock area, and then that 2% shading of tornadoes potentially getting up into western Tennessee near the Nashville area, getting into western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and southern Indiana near Evansville. A lower end threat for damaging winds up to around 60 miles per hour, and quarter-size hail will be possible with the storms later on today. So let's track that around the noon time frame here on the warm side of the system. We got a narrow squall line of storms from the Little Rock area down through Shreveport and into East Texas near Tyler, Texas around the noon time frame. Damaging winds, embedded tornadoes, and large hail will be the possibility with these storms. As they move to the east, these will transition more to damaging winds as we get deeper into the evening hours across Tennessee, getting into the Jackson, Mississippi area, and then down through portions of southern Louisiana. And then as we go into the early morning hours on Thursday, January 19th, around 6 a.m., we could be seeing that fading squall line farther to the east across eastern portions of Kentucky, middle and eastern Tennessee near the Cookeville and Crossville areas, and then down through portions of Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and then getting down here into portions of the Hattiesburg region in Mississippi around 6 a.m. Looking on Thursday, we have a small marginal risk across Ohio, especially northwestern Ohio. We have a 2% shading of tornadoes and a lower end threat for 60, maybe 65 mile per hour wind gusts later on in the day tomorrow up here. We have the initial band of rainfall moving across Pennsylvania, western New York, getting down through the mid-Atlantic around noon time frame Thursday. But as we get through the peak daytime heating, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock time frame on Thursday, we have that cold front moving through with that lift, and we'll have that potential for isolated severe weather across Ohio, especially northwestern and northern Ohio going through the evening hours on Thursday. More of that snow, rain, and sleet starting to mix in across portions of interior New England as we get into the 6 o'clock hour on Thursday. And then going through Thursday night into Friday morning around the 9 a.m. time frame, this will change over to snow as we see the cold air wrapping around the backside of the system into Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, getting in through upstate New York, portions of western Massachusetts, and then back across portions of the mid-Atlantic and eastern Ohio Valley as well, with that snowfall flying around. And these snowfall amounts could be adding up across upstate New York, getting up here into portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, western portions of Maine, and then getting up here toward the Montreal region in Quebec, Canada. We could be seeing a solid swath of 3 to 6, even 7 inches of snowfall locally across this region from Thursday through Friday night time frame. So that will be something to monitor. And again, this system will be reaching far and wide as well across the Central Plains, over across the Great Lakes. Much of the eastern 2/3 of the country will be affected by the system going through this weekend. But as we go into Saturday, January 21st, another quick hitting system will start to develop across the panhandle of Texas. We have a little snow zone down here across the central plains from Kansas back into the Front Range, and then more rainfall down across the Gulf Coast on Saturday. That will spread eastward with mainly rain showers across the eastern side of the country going into Sunday, January 22nd. A couple of thunderstorms will be possible, and then a narrow swath of snow from northern Illinois into Michigan here toward Detroit, back through Chicago. Maybe an inch or two of snow there going in through the day on Sunday into Monday morning. And then getting into early next week, from Monday, January 23rd through Friday, January 27th or thereabout, we'll have the western 2/3 of the country will be well below normal with those temperatures. The warmer temperatures with the ridging will be farther off to the east from Maine to Florida. We're going to see above average temperatures during that period. Also very active across the center of the country and the eastern 2/3 of the country during that period through January 27th. Will really be quiet across the West Coast, finally getting to that time frame as well, from Washington State down through Oregon, California, and Nevada here, much below average precipitation as we get into that time frame. And we have another deep trough that will be digging down all the way down into central Texas, if not northern Mexico, getting into Monday, January 23rd. That will be ejecting across the southeast, getting into Tuesday, January 24th next week. And then that will be even moving up further north and east toward the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, as we get into Wednesday, January 25th, another formidable storm system. And this could be our next winter storm potential getting into next week. So starting on Monday, January 23rd, we got that low all the way south into northern Mexico, the Rio Grande Valley down here. Very rare. We could be seeing some snow down into Amarillo, into portions of western Oklahoma with southern Kansas on Monday. And then as we go into the day on Tuesday, a mixed zone of sleet, freezing rain, and snow through the Arklatex region, heavier rains, maybe some embedded severe weather potentially across the deep southeast, across northwest Florida, southern Georgia, southern Alabama going into the day on Tuesday. And then this system really tightens up to a 987 millibar low somewhere across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, or the Northeast going into the middle of next week on Wednesday, January 25th, with that rainfall spreading in across the I-95 corridor. Heavier snow could be breaking out from the Ohio Valley up through southeastern Canada and interior New England getting into the middle of next week before moving farther north into eastern Canada as a 991 millibar low late next week on Thursday, January 26th. Again, looking at the potential rain amounts from Monday through Wednesday next week, very heavy rain amounts are likely across the eastern 2/3 of the country from the northeast all the way down through the southeast here. The heaviest rains could be falling across the Carolinas through Georgia, northwest Florida, and southeastern Alabama here in these purple and red shaded colors. We could be talking about over 2 inches of rain here, and then a solid swath of heavy snow across portions of the Ohio Valley, the southeastern Canada, and interior New England, according to the European forecast guidance. However, there is differences in the track of the system. If it moves a little bit farther west, we could be seeing some heavier snow back across portions of the Illinois Valley into the Missouri Valley, according to the GFS model. And then kind of in between those two camps of the European and GFS is the Canadian model. And I do kind of more, agree with this model a little bit more from the Arklatex through portions of the foothills of Missouri, southern Illinois, and through the Ohio Valley. We could have a solid swath of snow next week. So I do more so agree with the intermediate model here, the Canadian model of the potential for snow later on next week. But what is looking likelier is the cold air. The Arctic blast is waiting up here to the north as we get to late January. This is Saturday, January 28th. All the negative temperatures are up into northern Canada and Alaska here on the 28th time frame. But look, as we get in towards the 1st of February, on the Wednesday, February 1st, that cold air will be funneling southward into the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and the Northeast. And that even gets even worse here with the coldest of those temperatures centered across southern Canada and the Great Lakes region going into Friday, February 3rd, with that Arctic blast and that freezing line getting all the way south potentially to the Gulf Coast and the Carolinas as we get towards that first full week in February. And just to give you an idea of temperatures, again, this is not an official forecast, but an idea of how cold it could be getting into the first couple of days in February. Yeah, some of these temperatures could be below zero across much of southern, southeastern Canada, the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, and the Northeast here, even into the single digits during that time frame. And that will push that snow line farther south from now through February 5th. That snow line will be going farther south through Missouri, Missouri, Kansas, getting into Tennessee here, potentially the Appalachian chain, and much of the Ohio Valley that has missed out on a lot of the snow this year. It does look like some heavier snows will be potentially coming in towards late January into early February, kind of a quick hitting systems revolving around that cold air with that polar vortex getting into the first full week of February during that period. So weather forecast recap for you guys. A major snowstorm is expected across the Central Plains, Upper Midwest, and Great Lakes through this week. Severe weather is possible on the warm side of this system today and tomorrow as well, from the Arklatex through the Ohio Valley. A potential winter storm is looking likelier as we head into next week. Significant snow and severe weather will be possible with this system. And again, an Arctic blast is looking likely as well from late January through early February, especially across the north and northeastern states into the United States. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Remember to like the video down below, give it a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody, and I will see you all in the next video.